The moment she lets you in, a woman crosses the line where mask meets shadow, and love only begins if she dares to remain. What a woman feels in that very instant when she's with a man is far more complex than most people can imagine. For years, intimacy has been simplified into something purely physical, a quick trade of desire and release. Yet true psychology reminds us that nothing in the human heart is ever that simple. In those quiet, breathless moments lives a storm of emotions women rarely reveal. Not to their partners, not to their friends, sometimes not even to themselves. Beneath her calm expression may lie truths that could change the way you understand affection, trust, and attraction. It's been said that until you bring the unconscious to light, it will rule your life and you'll call it destiny. Nowhere is that more real than in intimacy. For a woman, letting a man in isn't just about pleasure. It's a crossing point where her outer self collides with her hidden self. Inside her rise the archetypes of the lover, the nurturer, and the protector, stirring emotion, fear, and deep longing. That's why intimacy often awakens contradictions, warmth and hesitation, closeness and distance, passion and silence. In this video, we'll uncover 5 hidden psychological truths about how a woman truly feels when she's intimate with a man. These aren't shallow dating tricks or pickup advice. They're deeper insights that explain why some women withdraw, why others cling, and how men can respond. Not with confusion, but with awareness. By the end of this video, you'll see through a new lens. Because once you understand, you no longer need to chase or overthink. You gain the freedom to approach love with confidence, empathy, and strength. If this message speaks to you, remember to like this video and subscribe for more insights into female psychology and emotional connection. Now let's begin with the first hidden truth. One that will completely change how you see her silence, her touch, and her hesitation in the most intimate moments. First layer, power and vulnerability. The first thing a woman feels when she's with a man is a surge of surrender mixed with a wave of vulnerability. It's as though 2 opposing energies flow through her at once. On one hand, she feels desired, chosen, and affirmed in her femininity, proud that someone she trusts desires her deeply. This moment touches something ancient within her, the feminine longing to be seen, cherished, and held. Yet in that same instant, she feels exposed, fragile, and uncertain whether she'll be enough to keep his desire alive. This contradiction confuses many men. They see the confidence, the passion, the intensity, but then notice a pause in her eyes, a shift in her energy, or a sudden need for reassurance that she rarely puts into words. She might ask through touch, through closeness, or sometimes by pulling away slightly. The hidden question she carries is, am I still safe? Does he still see me the same way? These aren't simple doubts. They're part of the emotional shadow women often never admit. The confident persona she shows collides with the inner fear of not being loved enough. The lover in her feels alive and desired, the child within craves comfort, and the protector part tries to stay in control, even when she's unsure. This inner conflict is what makes intimacy with women so rich, yet often puzzling. Some women hide that fear behind control. They appear dominant, detached, or emotionally distant afterward. It's not arrogance, it's protection. They're guarding the small voice that whispers, "What if I gave too much?" Others allow the experience to open them completely. They soften. They hold your gaze longer. They seek a connection that goes beyond the physical. These are the women who dare to be seen fully. And when they do, they can love with more depth, trust, and emotion. You might ask yourself, why does she sometimes seem distant after intimacy? Or, why does she suddenly cling tighter? The answer lies in that delicate dance between power and vulnerability. When her shadow of fear overtakes her, she might withdraw, needing distance to rebuild the sense of control she momentarily surrendered. But when she feels safe in your presence, she leans closer instead, seeking reassurance that allows her to embrace her vulnerability rather than hide it. It's often said that what we resist persists. And when a woman resists her own fragility, it doesn't disappear. It returns as projection. She may accuse you of being detached, uncaring, or difficult to read, when in truth, it's her own inner doubts echoing back at her. But when she accepts both her confidence and her fear, her softness and her strength, she steps closer to emotional wholeness, to becoming real and grounded in love. For men, understanding this first layer is essential. Many assume women enter intimacy only seeking pleasure or emotional comfort. But the truth runs deeper. She's also searching for validation of her worth, not through empty flattery or constant reassurance, but through your ability to see and accept both her tenderness and her fire. If you dismiss her vulnerability, she'll retreat. If you demand constant openness, she may feel exposed and pull away. But when you recognize that her femininity includes both confidence and fear, both strength and uncertainty, you create a space where connection feels passionate and emotionally safe. That's why the first layer of intimacy, this mix of power and vulnerability, is so vital. A woman feels desired because she's chosen, but also fragile because she fears losing that sense of being enough. Second layer, validation. If the first layer is a blend of power and vulnerability, the second is validation. For many women, the act of intimacy is unconsciously tied to being seen. It becomes proof of being desired, chosen, and valued. It reassures her that she matters, that she's still enough, that her femininity has meaning beyond the surface. But here lies the paradox. If validation only comes from the act itself, it never truly satisfies. In these moments, a woman often looks not at her own emotions but at your reactions. Your breathing, your touch, your focus, your expression. These become silent indicators of whether she's desired, whether she still holds your attention. When your energy is present and attuned, she feels affirmed. When you seem distracted, detached, or indifferent, she spirals inward, questioning her desirability, fearing she's lost her hold. Much of female desire isn't purely conscious. It's shaped by deeper emotional patterns. Within her, the lover seeks reassurance. The nurturer wants to feel needed, while her shadow whispers, "What if I'm not enough?" Your presence becomes a mirror reflecting both her confidence and her insecurity. This is why some women chase validation endlessly, not out of lust but from a hunger to feel seen. If she relies only on external approval, no amount of attention will fill the void. Each experience becomes a temporary fix that fades once uncertainty returns. Until she faces that inner fear of inadequacy, no level of attention, affection, or intimacy will silence it. For men, this can be confusing and sometimes frustrating. You may wonder why she's so reactive to your mood, why she seems to crave your approval, or why she withdraws when you're quiet. The truth is, in those moments, she's not only seeking connection. She's subconsciously searching for proof that she's still enough. Your touch, your tone, your energy, they all become the evidence her heart quietly looks for. But here's the key. You are not responsible for healing her inner wounds or defining her self-worth. You can only meet her where she stands, with honesty, awareness, and boundaries. Recognize the dynamic, respond with empathy, but don't lose yourself trying to complete what only she can face within. Liberating. Seeking validation is human, but when it becomes the only goal, it traps both people. Real connection isn't about performing to prove worth. It's about showing your raw truth and being met with acceptance. When a woman starts embracing her shadow, accepting that she can be both soft and uncertain, she no longer needs every moment of connection to prove her value. She can relax into intimacy instead of constantly trying to earn reassurance. This second layer then reveals something powerful. Intimacy turns dangerous when it becomes proof of worth. But when it's simply a meeting of two souls, where validation flows naturally through genuine presence, it transforms both people. Have you noticed how much a woman often looks for your responses during intimacy? The question isn't just whether she wants pleasure, it's whether she's seeking confirmation that she's enough. Third layer, dissolving walls/biological bonding. From humanity's earliest stories, women have been seen as both nurturers and returners. Ancient myths often portray the feminine as the one who gathers, who anchors the wandering man, yet also cycles back to her own place of comfort and power. Across time, from Greek epics to tribal tales, women have been both the home and the one who renews life through reunion. These stories show that while women may seem emotionally complex or guarded, something much deeper in them craves reconnection. Modern science sheds light on why. During intimacy, a woman's body releases oxytocin and dopamine, the same chemicals that bond mothers with their infants and create lasting emotional memory. These biological reactions blur the lines between physical desire and emotional connection. For a moment, her boundaries fade, and she feels completely joined with another. Even if she tells herself the encounter was casual, her nervous system remembers the touch, the scent, the rhythm. That memory isn't just mental, it's biological. Carl Jung explored this even further. He saw intimacy not only as biology but as a symbolic merging of opposites, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow. For Jung, every act of union carries mythic weight, because it reflects the soul's hunger for wholeness. In those moments, a woman isn't just with a man. She's meeting her animus, the inner masculine energy of her psyche that longs for balance. This is why the bond can feel so consuming. Expansion and surrender happening at once. Some argue intimacy is only hormones and instinct. Jung disagreed. He believed that biology can't fully explain why one experience can linger for years. He spoke of the collective unconscious, where archetypes of love and merging live. In his view, a woman's return to a man isn't just about oxytocin. It's because he awakens something buried in her unconscious, a memory of her own incompleteness and the possibility of integration through connection. This explains why some women keep returning even when logic says to walk away. It's not always calculation. Sometimes her nervous system and psyche have imprinted him as the mirror of her own soul. This can create deep attachment, even obsession. What looks simple on the surface is, in Jung's terms, a powerful psychic bond pulling her toward a reflection of her own inner world. But it carries risk. If a woman mistakes that bond for ownership, she may cling, believing her wholeness depends on constant access. If she denies it, she may scatter herself across encounters, never understanding why one man's memory lingers. Jung would warn that until a woman faces the symbolic meaning of that merging, she'll remain caught, either grasping to hold on or endlessly searching for what she already lost. For men, understanding this third layer brings clarity. If she keeps returning, it may not be manipulation. It might simply be that her biology and unconscious have tied her to you. You're not responsible for her inner journey, but recognizing it gives you power. The power to step back wisely and decide if the connection is meant for growth or if it will only entangle both of you. Fourth layer, fear versus love. A woman once admitted during therapy, "I thought it was just fun. I told myself I could walk away untouched. But when I was with him, something inside me cracked open. Afterward I kept thinking, what if he forgets me? What if I never meant anything? I was terrified, and yet, I realized I cared more than I wanted to." Her words expose a truth many women never say aloud. Intimacy awakens both desire and a battle between fear and love. On the surface, she might claim she can separate closeness from emotion, that she can keep things light. But Jung would remind us, the unconscious doesn't follow logic. Intimacy is never only physical, it's a doorway to the soul. A woman may believe she's in control, yet intimacy quietly bypasses her defenses. What surfaces isn't just pleasure, it's attachment. Fear comes first. Fear of not being enough, fear of being forgotten, fear of comparison. Jung described these as voices of the shadow, the parts that carry insecurity and shame. But after fear comes love, slow, unexpected, undeniable. Jung spoke of the animus, the inner masculine in every woman that awakens when she connects deeply. The man before her stops being just a partner. He becomes the mirror of her own soul. This is why women who swear they want nothing serious often find themselves suddenly attached. The animus doesn't answer logic, it answers resonance. When it's stirred, she feels it as something fated. This creates a paradox. Her logical mind says, stay detached. But her unconscious whispers, this is real. Intimacy breaks down walls she's built for years, exposing tenderness she didn't know she still had. She might resist it, but she can't fully escape it. For men, this explains why she might pull away one moment, then come back even closer the next. It's not always game playing. It's the tug-of-war between her shadow and her heart, between fear of being forgotten and love that refuses to fade. If she suppresses that inner battle, she may harden herself, treating closeness as a test of control instead of a space for connection. But when she acknowledges her fear and still chooses love, she begins what Jung called individuation, integrating vulnerability and strength. In doing so, she becomes capable not just of desire, but of devotion. Jung would say that until we face this paradox, fear and love arriving hand in hand, we remain prisoners to it. Fear urges retreat. Love demands exposure. Only by accepting both can intimacy evolve from a battlefield into a path toward wholeness. For men, knowing this shifts your perspective. When a woman pulls back after being close, it doesn't always mean she doesn't care. Sometimes, it means she felt too much. When love collides with fear, love collided, leaving her disoriented. Understanding this truth doesn't excuse her confusion, but it reveals the humanity behind her contradictions. She isn't only torn between leaving and staying. She's torn between running from love and surrendering to it. Do you think intimacy awakens love more often than women admit? And how might that change the way you see their contradictions afterward? Fifth layer, identity and presence. Throughout history, the meaning of intimacy for women has transformed profoundly. In ancient cultures, femininity was often tied to duty and devotion. A woman's worth was measured by her ability to nurture, to serve, or to maintain harmony. Intimacy, in that sense, was seen as obligation, a role within survival and tradition. The emotional truth behind it was rarely discussed, and vulnerability often buried beneath what society expected her to be. Today, the modern woman lives in a far more intricate reality. Intimacy is no longer just about belonging or duty. It has become deeply intertwined with self-perception. How a man receives her, how he looks at her, responds to her, or stays present, can confirm or unsettle how she sees herself. In psychological terms, intimacy touches her outer identity, the version she shows to the world, and quietly tests whether it aligns with her deeper, authentic self. She might walk in feeling confident, expressive, grounded, and yet afterward, find herself wondering, did he really see me? Was I truly felt, or was I just another experience? This is where presence becomes everything. True connection demands awareness, being fully in the moment. When a woman is genuinely present during intimacy, she experiences not only closeness with another but also a clearer reflection of herself. But presence is fragile. It can be nurtured or shattered by the smallest gestures afterward. A look, a kind word, a steady embrace. These tiny acts of care can reassure her spirit, silently saying, "You are seen. You are safe." Yet indifference, withdrawal, or emotional coldness can leave deep wounds, awakening the silent fear of not being enough. That's why intimacy is never neutral. It either heals or it hurts. A woman can walk away from the same experience feeling either more whole or more fractured, depending on how she experiences a man's presence afterward. When a man responds with steadiness and warmth, he mirrors her strength back to her, helping her integrate vulnerability into her identity. When he turns distant, he stirs old insecurities, leaving her caught between pride and self-doubt. The clash between history and the present becomes clear here. Centuries ago, women were taught to suppress emotional tremors, to remain composed, to treat intimacy as duty rather than expression. But the modern woman can no longer separate emotion from identity. Even if she jokes, even if she hides it, she knows. How she was met changes how she sees herself. This tension brings both danger and growth. If she builds her identity solely on how he responds, she becomes dependent, forever seeking validation. If she denies his presence altogether, she becomes detached, using closeness without ever letting it touch her. The wiser path lies in balance, acknowledging that another's response shapes her, yet grounding her sense of self in her own inner completeness. For men, this insight carries power. It shows how much your energy after intimacy matters. A word of appreciation, a moment of stillness, or simply staying close can echo deeply within her. It doesn't mean you're responsible for her self-worth, but it does mean your presence has meaning. Intimacy doesn't end when bodies part. It lingers in her memory, shaping how she views herself, you, and the connection between you. This fifth layer reveals a sacred truth. Intimacy is never casual at the level of the soul. It reshapes identity. It reshapes presence. And through that reshaping, a woman either grows nearer to her authentic self, or hides deeper behind her defenses. To love with awareness means learning to face the mirror intimacy provides, to see both confidence and insecurity reflected back, and to let presence, not performance, define connection. We've now journeyed through 5 hidden layers of the feminine psyche. For a woman, intimacy isn't just physical. It's a mirror where she confronts her insecurities, her longing, and her need to be seen beyond appearance or expectation. It reveals both her strength and her fragility, her desire to love and her fear of being forgotten. To understand these layers is to see beyond behavior, to recognize that behind every composed expression lies a soul navigating its own inner contradictions. For men, this understanding is liberating. It reminds you that when she pulls away, it might not mean disinterest, but emotional overflow. When she clings, it might not be weakness, but the awakening of attachment she didn't plan to feel. And when she seeks your closeness afterward, it's often not validation she craves, but the reassurance that she was truly seen. For women, embracing this awareness is freedom. To admit fear without shame, to accept that love often appears uninvited, and to let intimacy become a path of inner growth. This is the journey toward wholeness, learning to love without losing oneself. If you found meaning in this reflection, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps us bring more conversations on psychology, love, and self-awareness to life. And remember, intimacy isn't just what 2 bodies share. It's how 2 souls awaken truth in each other.